What's going on, everybody? Rob Stallone from StalloneSports.com coming at you live Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017, and we got football on the brain. NFL season 2 weeks away. College football season kicks off this weekend. Couldn't be more excited. Love baseball, but the grind has just got to me this summer. I'm ready to go for football. That's where we make our money. That's where we do our best work. Football season is here. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to break down a team that I expect to regress this year, maybe find some spots to bet against this team. A lot of hype behind this team. When 12-4 last year looked really good, but when we dive deep into the numbers, we see this team was a bit of smoke and mirrors behind them. And that's the Oakland Raiders out of the AFC West. If you look at NFL Super Bowl future boards right now, some places have the Oakland Raiders third highest on the board at about 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. That is absolutely ridiculous. Super Bowl futures are ridiculous in the first place, but the fact that the Raiders are up there ahead of teams like Seattle, Atlanta, it's absolutely ridiculous. When we dive into this team, yes, they were 12-4 last year. Yes, they were impressive at times. They went 10-6 against the spread, despite all the hype. 11-5 to the over. We can't knock their record, 12-4. But let's look deeper into those numbers. They were 6-0 in games decided by less than a touchdown. AKA, there was 6 coin flips and they won them all. You have to be very wary of teams like this. Those kind of teams, when that stuff happens, these teams are primed for regression. And although I think this young team will make improvements, no doubt, I don't think the results are going to be there again this year. 12-4, they will not be 12-4 this year. Bank on that. They will not be 12-4 this year. When you look deep into Football Outsiders numbers, by the way, Football Outsiders, great resource for stats, in-depth stats, beyond the ESPN front page stuff. Really good stuff from Football Outsiders. We look at their offense. They were only ranked number 11 last year. Their defense was ranked number 20 in the NFL. Their special teams was ranked number 18. That does not fit the profile of a 12-4 straight-up team. Now, what aided to that? How did they become that way? 6-0 in games decided by a touchdown or less, like I said, and they were number 1 in turnover margin in the NFL, plus 16. They had 30 takeaways, and they only turned the ball over 14 times. That's incredible. Expect regression there, too. Plus 16, that is very impressive, but do not expect that to be there again. Plus 16 is a very high number. Offensively, 5.5 yards per play, league average. 4.4 yards per rush, slightly above league average. 6.9 yards per pass attempt, just below NFL average. Now, what helped? They only allowed 18 sacks, which is number 1 in the NFL. That's very impressive, only allowing 18 sacks. But I think there's regression for this team. They're switching up OCs. Todd Downing is taking over the OC job. He was the quarterback coach. When you have guys from the staff taking over other jobs within the organization, I don't think that's such a big deal. But their offense should be fairly explosive again. Derek Carr, obviously leading the way. Their wide receivers are loaded. They got Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper. They brought in Cordell Patterson and Seth Roberts. This is going to be a dynamic passing attack. I'll give them that, no doubt in my mind. The issue here, I think, is in the run game. They brought over Marshawn Lynch. I'm not too sure what Marshawn Lynch has in the tank. I'm not sure how interested he is in playing football. I think by season's end, Jalen Richard is going to be getting the majority of characters, either by Lynch injury or not producing or wearing down. This guy has a lot of carries under his belt. I think a lot of it was to help put some excitement back into the franchise after announcing their move to Vegas. I think it's very important that they brought him in, a big name, get fans excited for this year, especially the ones in Oakland who know their team's going to leave. But lucky for him, they got a strong O-line, very good O-line, top 5 in the league, I would say. They got to find a new right tackle, but I think they'll still be fine. So, no doubt the passing attack is going to be good. I think their running game is going to take a little bit of a step back. We'll see what Lynch can do. I just don't see him lasting a full season, being that bell cow back. Jalen Richard, it might be a little sleeper in your fantasy leagues to grab onto. He might get a lot of action, especially near the end of the year. Now, defensively, this is where the issue lies for the Oakland Raiders. Defensively, they were the number 26th ranked defense last year, 6.0 yards per play allowed, dead last in the NFL. 25 sacks, that's it, they generated, dead last in the NFL. 4.5 yards per rush allowed, gashed on the ground, bottom quartile of the league. When passes were completed against them, they averaged 13 yards, which was dead last in the NFL. Every time someone's completing a pass against them, it's an average of 13 yards. Dead last. Terrible. Linebacker core, they lose over 1,500 snaps, just walked out the door in free agency in the form of Malcolm Smith and Perry Riley. Now Corey James has to step in. He was the fourth linebacker in rotation last year. He's going to be expected to be a big part of the linebacking core and of this defense. I'm not sure how that's going to go for him. The front seven was brutal last year. They really struggled. Couldn't get to the quarterback. Gashed against the run. And they really didn't do anything to shore that up. I expect it, once again, to be a below average, bottom of the league defense, especially up front. In the defensive backfield, Reggie Nelson, they brought in really their only proven defensive player. They drafted some young guys, Conley and Melafonu. Sorry if I messed his name up. In the draft, first and second round pick. The secondary is very young. They got to have real improvements from Carl Joseph that they drafted 2 years ago. They're putting a lot of pressure on him and Reggie Nelson. I'm not too sure if this defense is going to make any strides at all. I really don't. Combine that with the fact that they got lucky in a lot of their games, a lot of coin flip games. Remember the first game of the year, they went for 2 at the end of the game to beat, I think it was the Saints. A lot of close games. So the offense will be dynamic, yes, but their defense is going to be bad. Lucky they're in a division that I'm not too fond of, but I do not see this team going 12-4 again. They're not going to go 6-0 in tight games again. It's just not going to happen. So I think you can look to bet this team over the total with a great passing offense and crappy defense. And I also think you can find value because this team right now, let's face it, besides New England, what team is getting the most hype in the NFL this year? It's Oakland. They are getting steamed everywhere. Season over-under wins, futures, week one. Like, they're getting a lot of respect in the betting market. I like to be contrarian. I think we can bet against this team. They were not a 12-win team last year. Their stats say they should have been a 9-ish win team, 8 or 9 win team. Got really fortunate last year. So, buy low, sell high. Let's do that with Oakland this year. Look to fade Oakland in spots this year. And please, for God's sakes, do not lay a future bet on this team. Their defense is atrocious. Those wagers are silly. Do not do that. They may have a chance to win their division because it's not very strong. They'll be in the thick of things, but expect some more losses out of Oakland this year and to bet this team up and over the total.